Elon Musk defends his offer to purchase Twitter on Thursday, saying during an onstage interview at the TED conference that he sees the acquisition as nonetheless the turning point for civilization. So basically, I think the reason he's saying that is he sees Twitter as the modern day town square in a way.
He's putting a substantial chunk of his vast fortune on the line to save free speech in America. This is a narrative conservatives love. They did it with Trump too. Trump is a billionaire.
Okay, well, let's just say this. Elon Musk, that's what he said he was doing for the future of civilization, and he was buying it to help the freedom of speech.
Elon Musk won't. He really just comes across as the stereotype to me of like a high schooler who's watched Rick and Morty and thinks he's extremely deep and scientific because, like,
I mean, I don't know if Vaush is intentionally doing this, but he's instantly going for the sort of like ad hom attack of just attacking Elon Musk as a person and not trying to engage with the topic at hand, which maybe that's just what Vaush does. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Playmore69, aka Michael, and this is the Elon Podcast, episode 29. And in today's episode, the topic is Elon Musk buying Twitter. Well, he hasn't officially bought Twitter yet, but he plans to do so. He basically became a shareholder in Twitter, holding about 9% of the company now, and now he wants to purchase the entire company for, quote, the future of civilization. And it's not about making money. I personally doubt that, but I will read this article before we really get into doing some reactions. So basically what we have lined up for today, I have this CNN article to basically give a somewhat neutral perspective on the situation. And then for the first video reacting to, we have a Ben Shapiro video titled "The Real Reason Elon Musk is Trying to Buy Twitter," and the third video, or the third thing we would be reacting to, but the second video is "Conservatives Cream Their Pants as Elon Musk Moves to Buy Twitter" by Vaush. And I will be going in chronological order. That's really just the reason I'm doing this. So the article, April 14th, Ben Shapiro's video is April 15th, and then Vaush's video is April 17th. So I'm going to be going in chronological order here. And this is kind of what I do to look at news. So I try to read articles first because I feel that they give a more neutral perspective on news. And then I go to watching YouTube videos and people's takes on them. Normally, if I want to get a political issue or just a hot button topic that I know everyone will cover, I normally go for a standard right-wing person, Ben Shapiro. Some people consider him far right, which he you know, kind of is in a sense, but it's not like he's the N-word that I can't say, not you know, the political party, NAZI. But again, he's your standard right-wing person, probably on the far right. And then normally for the left-wing person, normally go with Vaush, even though he is quite far left. You know, he calls himself a leftist, not a liberal. But I do watch his videos to kind of get his take on a standard leftist point of view. And then normally I watch Destiny to get a standard liberal point of view, which that's normally what I line up with. So anyways, let's just get into the article here. So the title is Elon Musk says, or he offers to buy Twitter, and it's about the future of civilization not making money. So anyways, let's just get into this. Elon Musk defends his offer to purchase Twitter on Thursday, saying during an onstage interview at the TED conference that he sees the acquisition as nonetheless the turning point for civilization. So basically, I think the reason he's saying that is he sees Twitter as the modern day town square in a way, where you know, how you get news out there and how you interact with people is not in like town squares anymore like you would, you know, hundreds of years ago, but you know, you use Twitter, you use social media platforms, and Twitter is one of the biggest social media platforms. I think we can all agree. So continuing, Musk said the proposal deal was not about the economics of Twitter business, but about ensuring Twitter remains a trusted platform for democracy, describing his vision in characteristically sweeping terms. Okay. This is not a way to make money, Musk told TED chief Chris Anderson. My strong intuition sense is having a public platform that is maximized, trusted, and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization. So basically, keeping it a more neutral standpoint for the freedom of speech. That's the main reason I've heard tossed around for people, or why people think Elon Musk is actually buying it, but continuing. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO railed against what he saw as a lack of freedom of speech on Twitter, there it is, and said Twitter should be an open source algorithm to increase transparency in the company's content moderation decisions that would reflect a major shift in how Twitter operates. The code should be on GitHub so people can look through it and say, I see a problem here, I don't agree with this. They can highlight the issue, suggest changes, said Musk. I mean, I think that's a very, very good idea as someone who does go on GitHub and does have a GitHub account. But again, GitHub is, to make this claim as your like major claim here, even though it's really good, it doesn't appeal to the average person. And basically the reason I'm saying that is probably only 1% of people in the world know what even GitHub is. They could probably, 1% of people could actually, explain it. 0.1% of people in the world probably even go on GitHub and actually use GitHub. And probably even a smaller percentage of people in the world actually go on GitHub daily, look at code, use code, and actually write code to upload to GitHub. So even though this is a really good thing that I wish, this was the truth, it doesn't appeal to the average person. So even though it appeals to me, I'm in the 0.1% of people who actually use GitHub. And even then, I'm not a big GitHub user. I'm not a programmer. I work in cybersecurity. So yes, even though I do look at code, it's not what I look at every day. It's mainly I'm looking through firewalls and stuff like that. So even though GitHub, it doesn't appeal to the average person. So yeah. Asked how he would change Twitter's content moderation, Musk explained that his test for whether the platform adheres to freedom of speech principles is simple. Is someone you don't like able to say something you don't like? And if that is the case, then we have freedom of speech. See, I don't 100% agree with that, or let me rephrase that. You see where that would cause a problem, right? Where what freedom of speech is going to do, it's going to bring a certain group of people back to Twitter. People that are on the far right who maybe believe in a ZI philosophy. I feel that that's what it's going to bring. I don't think it's as simple as saying that is someone you don't like saying something you don't like. Like, I agree with that. That's a great thing. But you can kind of see where that's going to go on Twitter. Musk mused that if a tweet were to particularly controversial, perhaps the company should not promote the tweet, but add, I think we want to have a very recollection, delete things, and just be very cautious of permanent bans. Timeouts are better. I agree with that. Permanent bans, I think, are not so good, but timeouts are a lot better because deplatforming someone, because we literally doing it for the the future of civilization. If you were to permaban someone, then you would be permanently banning them from the future of civilization. So again, I agree with this. Musk acknowledged that even if he purchased the company, there would still be errors. I think everyone will still blame me for everything he said. If I acquire Twitter and something goes wrong, it's my fault 100%. I think there will be quite a few errors. I agree with that. Asked whether he had a backup plan for the bid purchase of Twitter fails, Musk said that he had various ideas, but closely said declined to elaborate, saying that he would wait for another time. Okay, so basically what I got from this, Elon Musk wants to buy Twitter, quote for the future of civilization, and he wants to do it for freedom of speech and not the business of Twitter. So what we are going to do for the rest of this podcast is we are going to be reacting to Ben Shapiro, and then we will be reacting to Vaush. So let's just see how this goes. I normally watch in 1.5 times speed, but I'll only watch in 1.25 speed because Ben Shapiro normally already talks in 1.25 speed. So yeah, let's just go.
I can tell you that when they switch over the algorithms without telling you what is going on in order to minimize the reach of particular posts, this makes everyone very suspicious of one another, and it actually silos people off. I would much rather that I see more left-wing content. I do already. I'd rather see more left-wing content so long as it means I also get to see more right-wing content than see exactly what Twitter wants me to see. So Musk did an interview at a TED conference in Vancouver over the last 24 hours, and he went off on the free speech orientation of Twitter. Here's what he had to say.
If in doubt, let the speech, let it exist. It would have, if it's a gray area, I would say let the tweet exist. I do think that we want to be just very reluctant to delete things and have just be very cautious with permanent bans.
Of course, he's exactly correct about all of this. He said any action should be made apparent so anyone can see what is happening behind the scenes. So there's no manipulation, either algorithmically or manually, which of course is something we've been calling for here at the Daily Wire for quite a while, is if you're going to manipulate us, at least show us what manipulation is taking place. Don't make us kind of shoot in the dark for how you are suppressing information or not suppressing information. That suspicion, by the way, is what leads to the rise of conspiracism. Because if I don't know what's happening behind closed doors, but I know you're doing something to screw with how my speech is distributed behind closed doors, this makes me more likely to believe conspiracy theories about exactly what it is that you are doing and what it is that you are thinking. Musk continued by saying that it's important that we have broadly inclusive platforms, that the play that he's making for Twitter is not predominantly a profit-driven play, which, by the way, I'm sure is true. There are a lot of people saying, no, it is a profit-driven play for Musk. Well, I mean, profit, I'm sure, is involved because Musk is a very, very wealthy man who doesn't make stupid economic decisions as a general matter. However, there are better investments than Twitter. I think that Musk actually does believe that he makes a world of difference by getting involved in platforms like Twitter and opening them up.
My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
He is absolutely correct about this. If we can't have platforms where we at least argue and discuss with one another, if there's a feeling that you have to be on a different platform in order to discuss politics than Twitter, and Twitter is just for the left-wingers, it's amazing. Everybody on the left is constantly worried about news siloing, about information siloing. You guys created the silos. You are the ones who are hardening the silos. We know what you are doing. On a business level, Musk says he's not sure that he's going to be able.
Okay, so at least so far in this video, I agree what Ben is saying. Even though he is a right-wing person, I can't agree with him on certain things. But, I can acknowledge that Twitter is quite more for the left wing, even though left-wing people do get banned on Twitter. Like, we know this. But it does seem Twitter has a sort of left-leaning opinion and left-leaning favoritism. So I can acknowledge that. But we also have to say, will the freedom of speech on Twitter, if that becomes a thing, let's say Elon Musk, he purchases it, whatever, and, then freedom of speech is like totally free on Twitter. Will that make Twitter lean more towards the right? Just a thought. But I don't know. Let's continue.
Able to acquire Twitter. There's already been pushback from some of the investors, including a Saudi prince who's a major Twitter shareholder. His name is Al-Walid bin Talal. He took to Twitter to say he was already rejecting the entrepreneur's cash offer for the social media platform because it was apparently too low. Musk, for his part, he then tweeted, why don't you ask the shareholders whether it's too low? He said, quote, it would be utterly indefensible not to put this offer to a shareholder vote. They own the company, not the board of directors. He also pointed out in a filing that you guys, there's been like Goldman Sachs reports showing exactly how much the company is worth. And I'm offering you more than the company is worth. He posted the Goldman Sachs rating for the company, according to Daily Wire. He said, quote, if the current Twitter board takes actions contrary to shareholder interest, they would be breaching their fiduciary duty. The liability, they would thereby assume, would be titanic in scale. And he posted a screenshot of Goldman Sachs' equity research rating for Twitter, saying that the company was a sell stock as it was falling behind performance forecasts, which of course is true. They lost a lot of money last year. They lost a lot of money the year before. According to Goldman Sachs, in analyzing Twitter's Q4 21 earnings report and forward operating commentary, a few key themes, many of them reiteration of the past year, were front and center. First, Twitter management expressed optimism on the ability to grow users at an accelerated pace versus prior periods. However, we remain below that forecast. Second, Twitter remains in investment mode against goals aimed at user growth, product innovation, and advertising diversification. So he's saying, you guys keep saying that it's worth a lot of money, but I've noticed that you guys keep losing money. And then when I offer to pay you a lot more money than the stock is actually worth, you're telling me no, right? He is offering $54.20. The stock is currently valued at somewhere between $43 and $47, kind of bouncing around a little bit. So he's offering a pretty solid premium above what the actual public stock price is worth. And a bunch of people are saying they don't want to sell their stock. That has a lot less to do, I have a feeling, with people not willing to make profit because they really think the upward trajectory of Twitter is strong. And a lot more to do with the simple fact that they don't like the idea that Musk is going to come in and open up the business. We'll get to more on Elon Musk taking over Twitter in just 1 second. First, my sleep quality, I will tell you, this week.
We are not watching a Ben Shapiro ad. All right, that's better.
You can see this from the commentary. So, for example, you have Scott Kessler, vice president and global lead for technology at Third Bridge, a research firm, quote, sometimes when people are idealistic or aspirational, they don't think about the other side of these considerations. Reducing harassment is something the company spent a lot of time and money on over the last couple of years. I think by many accounts, they've done a pretty good job. Joan Donovan, research director at Harvard Kennedy's Shorenstein Center on Media, Politics and Public Policy, said reducing the harm caused by online campaigns targeting minorities and other vulnerable groups needs to be a priority in the C-suite. Musk does not seem concerned with that.
Now, I definitely like that point. And the reason is that, you know, when you think about social medias, that is one of their primary goals, to reduce harassment and, you know, make it just more of a opening place for everyone. But obviously when freedom of speech is, you know, more of a thing and the rules are, you know, sort of open, that really just creates a sort of environment where marginalized communities are not as accepted. And that's just, you know, I don't want to say a fact, but I mean, at least if you're following my logic here of if there was 100 people and, you know, 5 of the people are marginalized and there are rules that, hey, these 95 people can't say bad things about these 5 people, or at least, like, you know, can't keep marginalizing them or keep pushing them to this certain, like, stereotype or whatever, and then, like, all of a sudden the rules are lifted, and then, you know, then they can say whatever they want. Maybe not every one of those 95 people will say bad things about those 5 people, but there probably will be more than 5 people saying things about, you know, these marginalized people. And even if it's just one person, you know, they're not marginalized, but they can still say these things to these marginalized people, and, you know, again, it just repeats the cycle at that point. But yeah, I think that social media, when you think about it, they do need to combat harassment, and I think that Elon Musk, that's not something he's thinking about whatsoever when he's thinking about the free speech of Twitter.
Now, I've noticed that they keep quoting people who have never owned a business. They're quoting a lot of people who are experts and academics, people who work for places like the Harvard Kennedy Shorenstein Center on Media, research directors. And you know what? They aren't billionaires, and there is a reason they're not billionaires. Now, there's some equity analysts who are saying, no. The real reason that Twitter is doing this is because they want to be more advertiser friendly. But here's the thing. When you have as many users as Twitter has, advertisers will find a way to advertise on your platform. And all these sort of gutlessness where they say, oh, you know, advertisers might run screaming away from our platform. Yeah, no, they won't. Advertisers will deal with it. And what they will say is the same thing that advertisers should always say, which is, we're not responsible for every comment on Twitter. We just advertise on Twitter because that's where the eyeballs are, which is the way the business is supposed to work in the first place. Musk did say he's not sure that he's going to be able to acquire Twitter because, of course, the board is attempting to put all these poison pills in the deal. Here was Musk yesterday.
And I'm not sure that I will actually be able to acquire it. And I should also say the intent is to retain as many shareholders as is allowed by the law in a private company, which I think is around 2,000 or so. So it's not like it's definitely not from the standpoint of let me figure out how to monopolize or maximize my ownership of Twitter.
Musk also said that there might be a plan B if plan A fails, meaning if he does not have his offer accepted, then there might be something on the horizon here.
So you don't have to lose. If in this case you are not successful in, the board does not accept your offer, you've said you won't go higher, is there a plan B?
There is.
I think we would like to hear a little bit about plan B.
For another time, I think.
Another time?
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Well, good for him. Good for him. So a lot of people on the right are celebrating Musk. A lot of people on the left are very angry at Musk. I mean, listen, I think Musk is doing amazing work. I mean, first of all, he's an amazing entrepreneur. He's revitalized the space program in the United States. Tesla is an incredible company. And he is one of the great entrepreneurial stories of the 21st century, maybe the best entrepreneurial story of the 21st century. And the fact that he is now dipping his toe into these waters in an attempt to broaden freedom of speech makes him somewhat heroic. Okay, I'm not going to put any sort of shine on this. It is a heroic act to take your money and put it where your mouth is. If you believe that Twitter is doing a bad job in preventing content from being disseminated to the public, and then you decide to take billions of dollars and plop them on the table, this is an act of actual free speech heroism. We're in a battle for the culture.
Okay, So, at least from what I can get from Ben Shapiro's take on this, is that I think he did a relatively okay job. It wasn't, he only said like crazy leftist twice. But yeah, I mean, he didn't say anything too insane. He basically just laid out the news, said that, hey, Elon Musk was, buying Twitter, not from a business standpoint, but kind of is, he's trying to make money too. But maybe his primary goal is to actually for the, or how is it said, the future of civilization. So, yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is obviously not thinking about the marginalized communities. That's why Twitter has a lot of its strict guidelines to, sort of ban people who even touch these marginalized communities. That's why, I don't really use Twitter, because obviously that is somewhat of an annoyance, is that, you might say something that someone on Twitter might find inflammatory, and if they have like, neo pronouns and identify as a fox and have BLM in their bio, automatically makes them marginalized, and then you'll get banned for just saying a little thing. Again, it's just one of those things. But anyways, that was Ben Shapiro's reaction. So we read the article, which was a little bit more of a neutral standpoint, and then we watched Ben Shapiro, which is a firm right-winger's reaction. Now we are going to watch Vaush's reaction, who is a far left person, a leftist, self-described, not a liberal. And this is the final video we will be reacting to in this podcast. And let's just see how he puts it for Elon Musk buying Twitter. Into it.
He's putting a substantial chunk of his vast fortune on the line to save free speech in America. This is a narrative conservatives love. They did it with Trump too. Trump is a billionaire.
Okay, well, let's just say this. Elon Musk, that's what he said he was doing for the future of civilization, and he was buying it to help the freedom of speech. So that's his words. You saw it in the interview. You read it in the article. I don't think that is, misquoting him or anything. But anyways, let's continue.
Who could spend the rest of his life eating off golden platters, and he traded all of it to save you. He threw it all away somehow, as though you're not incredibly wealthy and powerful as the president. It really does speak, I think, to the submissive mindset of the conservative. Who wants to talk about Elon Musk, the savior of the American people? I know, attempting right now to buy all of Twitter at a $43 billion buyout. He already owns part of the company, and it's been denied. It's not happening. Have they denied it? Because I know an earlier group pushed against it, but this is another one. The newest one has been denied. The other bone stopper blocked him. I thought this news was more recent than that. The Saudis said no. Well, that's good. Doesn't really matter for my purposes here. Got other stuff to talk about. So, Elon Musk, not, in my opinion, the brightest guy. Seriously, I can't speak to like whatever engineering knowledge he has, because like he's not the engineer at his companies. Like he pays people to do that, underpays people to do that. In a social sense, though, like in terms of when he like talks about stuff on podcasts, I really just think Elon Musk is like a Joe Rogan lacking in self-awareness. Like Joe Rogan will talk about like if monkeys could do DMT, and like the like how flowers must have been like they must have thought they were just random stuff. But Joe Rogan will go like, hey, I'm not an expert on this, I'm an idiot. Elon Musk won't. He really just comes across as the stereotype to me of like a high schooler who's watched Rick and Morty and thinks he's extremely deep and scientific, because like,
I mean, I don't know if Vaush is intentionally doing this, but he's instantly going for the sort of like ad hom attack of just attacking Elon Musk as a person and not trying to engage with the topic at hand, which maybe that's just what Vaush does. At least for what I would say off of Elon Musk's intelligence, I would say he's probably above average, at least. The fact that he has two highly successful companies, and he was also the CEO of another successful company, PayPal. So, I would say, yeah, he must have some sort of intelligence to be able to do what he is doing now. Does he come off as sort of a pseudo-intellectual? Yeah, of course. And, because again, just because you're smart in one thing doesn't make you smart in everything. I say that all the time. Take everything what I say with a grain of salt, because again, I can acknowledge I am not the smartest person. But I like to think that I'm an above average person because I investigate things, I talk about a lot of things, and I read up on things, watch videos. Again, I try to engage with certain topics and I try to be knowledgeable of them before I talk about them. But at the same time, just because I have 3 college degrees doesn't make me intelligent. So again, it's just something to always remember, but let's continue.
He knows some Neil deGrasse Tyson memes. It's just, I guess the issue with insulting Elon Musk is that he's so obviously and objectively bad in almost every way. Like, everything that he touches is embarrassing, with the exception of PayPal, which he doesn't run, of course. Like the Tesla stuff, the Boring Company stuff, the rocketry stuff has made a lot of really impressive moves. The least impressive SpaceX elements are his publicity stunts. Like the stuff the engineers at SpaceX do is impressive. But then he'll say something and it'll get worse because I don't know. But people love him. Whatever.
Okay, well, at least I would say to that, again, we're not even engaging in the topic anymore, so maybe the topic's already out the window and we're not even 3 minutes into the video. But at least engaging with what Vaush is saying is that I would say Tesla is pretty highly successful. I mean, just look at their stock price, look at their market cap. I think they have one of the highest market caps. A lot of people hold Tesla stock. It's almost at $1,000 per share. And then with SpaceX, yes, of course, that, obviously Vaush, he's a socialist, so of course he's going to value workers more than the higher ups, which, again, I try to take a more equal approach of like, hey, the higher ups matter too, and also the workers matter too. So the engineers matter, but also Elon Musk employs them, and he also has a lot of ideas, and he also has helped with the rockets in the past with SpaceX. But at the same time, of course, everything that SpaceX does doesn't need to be credited to Elon, but I think he should deserve some credit for the success of Tesla and the success of SpaceX. But again, Vaush is not going to give him any sort of credit. I think he's really arguing in bad faith here of sort of just, discrediting Elon Musk as a person and discrediting his business, of Tesla and also SpaceX, when you can give him a little credit. Like, Tesla is one of the most successful companies in the past 10 years. Like, look at their share prices. Like, I don't know how else you want to go off success there. Like, I personally will go straight to the share prices and be like, look at how much their shares are. Look at their market cap. They're obviously worth a lot. But, whatever. Continuing.
Whatever. Anyway, he wants to buy Twitter. He's a right-leaning guy. He's made a bunch of tweets. He's very clearly right-leaning. We'll get to that in a second. Anyway, how would Elon Musk change Twitter if he were to buy it? Now, he's making moves right now, so we got to know. If he buys Twitter, what's going to happen?
There'll be an inclusive arena for free speech where all,
An inclusive arena for free speech. So right off the bat. Like, so what do we mean? Because every right-leaning person says this. And what they actually mean is they don't want to ban people for hate speech, but will ban people for posting pictures of Elon Musk with a receding hairline.
Twitter has become kind of the de facto town square. It's just really important that people have both the reality and the perception that they're able to speak freely.
So what would you do?
So one of the things that I believe Twitter should do is open source the algorithm and make any changes to people's tweets, if they're emphasized or de-emphasized.
I agree with algorithm and publicization, but the algorithm isn't how free speech stuff happens on Twitter. I could be wrong on this.
No, it kind of is. So basically every social media uses some sort of algorithm now because social media is so big. You can look at YouTube, you can look at Instagram, you can look at Facebook, you can look at Twitter, you can look at any algorithm, especially TikTok. They have a great algorithm, obviously. But when you have an algorithm on any social media, they dictate a lot of things. They dictate how many people see your posts. They dictate they classify your post in a certain way. It has to be in an algorithm because there's so many people on Twitter. Imagine if there was workers that look through every single tweet. It's impossible. I think there's something, again, this is arbitrary. I don't know any statistics, so I don't even want to say any, but let's just say that there's 10,000 tweets per minute or something. Probably a lot more than that, honestly. I have no clue. But anyways, there wouldn't be enough people working at Twitter to look through every single tweet and categorize this is wrong, this is bad, this is hate speech, whatever. So when you think about those things, it is an algorithm. It is an algorithm categorizing certain things, like how you say something. You know, again, even the YouTube algorithm is so small that I can say the, you know, NAZI word in this video, and I would immediately get like sort of gray listed, you know, not blacklisted. Like it wouldn't get recommended to people, but it wouldn't get recommended to a lot of people. So I had to be very careful of what I say. Same thing with saying the F word. I can't say FUCK, because if I said that in this video, again, it would get kind of gray listed, kind of like pushed down the YouTube algorithm. People wouldn't watch my video. So again, that's how strong the YouTube algorithm is. It recognizes English, and it recognizes certain words in English that I could say, and this video could be pushed down the YouTube algorithm. So yes, every single social media does use an algorithm.
But like the algorithm is much more of a force on YouTube and TikTok and stuff. On Twitter, if you retweet, you retweet. Like it's you're banned or you're not. You know, I don't actually know if being shadow banned is a thing on Twitter, because every time I've seen people complain about being shadow banned, it's just irrelevant dipshits who are angry that they don't have as much engagement as they think they deserve. I've never seen any evidence that it actually does exist. If it does exist, then I'm okay with transparency with regards to how it functions. Sex workers get shadow banned. I genuinely don't know. Listen, I'm in favor of transparency in this regard. However, I got to ask, what about the moderation policy? Because that's like, when we talk about free speech on Twitter, like we're talking about the moderation policy, you know? Like we're talking about TOS here, not algorithms. On YouTube, the algorithm is way more influential for determining what rises and what sinks. But on Twitter, like this is mostly a TOS game. So are we going to do anything about this?
That action should be made apparent so anyone can see that action has been taken. So there's no sort of behind the scenes manipulation, either algorithmically or manually.
Okay. Watch the full talk on TED. I don't want to watch the full talk. I'll be copyright claim. Look, this is tangential. The actual thing that I wanted to talk about is literally just a pump and dump and is fucking with the SEC. Well, at the end of the day, this is all just gonna this is like a money thing, right? I mean, of course it is. He's the wealthiest. What was that thing Elon Musk just tweeted? I'm sorry. When I see stuff like that, I guess I don't understand how anybody can see this and not immediately kill themselves, like with the nearest implement capable of bringing about that outcome. I saw this. Come on. 69.420% of statistics are false. I genuinely think that this should carry with it some kind of legal consequence.
I mean, Elon Musk is just being like the boomer who is into memes. Like that's his shtick on Twitter. And that's how he became popular. Again, he's got 700,000 likes there. It's absolutely insane. But again, he's just appealing to the young generation because, again, memes are funny number, funny two numbers. Again, is it cringe? Yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, just look the other way. It's just cringe. It's not something bad, you know? I mean, I don't know. Vaush is making a mountain out of a molehill.
100,000 likes, by the way. This is what the people want. If you ever think like, oh, you know, why is this corny shit? Why is SNL still popular? You know? Yeah, she was right. It's like an AI. I mean, it's like bot NPC behavior right here. Like, well, what's funny? Anyway, so nice memes. He likes money. Great. This isn't what I want to talk about. Okay. What I want to talk about is this collection of images compiled on my Reddit of conservatives reacting to Elon Musk's efforts to buy out Twitter. First, we got Paul Joseph Watson, the guy who I don't react to because he is so tantalizingly face fuckable. I mean, those lips, my God, that I get distracted. I just get lost. I get lost in them. The meltdown, if Elon Musk pulled off the unlikely coup of buying 100% of Twitter, would rival the reaction to Trump's election. And then get ready for this. NPCs, beard splainers, pronouners, alphabet people, soy jacks, blue check journos would all be in utter hysterics. Would be the funniest thing in years. I don't know how you can be a tradcon and then use so many words not in the Bible. This is duck speak. Deeply embarrassing. This is the most, I don't know how you can say other people are soy jacks and then list out like, this would be like complaining about other people not touching enough grass in a tweet that contains 13 words that exist only on incel boards or like TTTT or something. It's like, all right, buddy. Paul Joseph Watson has always struck me as the person with the greatest disparity between his joviality online and his IRL like mental health. Because I really do get the feeling that he just sits there, you know? No, TTT is Trouble in Terrorist Town. TTTT is LGBT, the 4chan board. It's a thing. Just go. If you're, don't worry about it. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. Just a deeply depressing vibe from the man. From Matt Walsh. If Elon Musk buys Twitter, he will be the first African American to own a major social media platform. This is a great day for diversity. Another glass ceiling shattered. One of the reasons why I don't like African American as a term, by the way. Technically, true. Vernon Jones. Breaking Elon Musk just made a bid to buy all of Twitter. This is how we take down big tech. Elon is quickly becoming my favorite African American. Okay, so this is...
Okay, I see what conservatives are doing here. I know why they're doing this, because again, you know, there's these maybe like right-leaning people saying like, hey, I like African Americans, but you know, it's ironic because Elon is white. Of course, it's going to make Vaush sort of mauled here, but I see what they're doing. Again, it's not like, again, they're using African American in the ironic term, but it's, I get it. You know, they're not referring to a black person, they're referring to Elon. So
this is more explicitly racist than the last one, because this could come across as like, this cynical joke is something I could make. This just comes off as racist. You know, it's like the ranking tier of my favorite African Americans. Also, I have to wonder, this is how we take down big tech. By the richest man in the world single-handedly owning one of the largest social media platforms. That's how we take it down? By making it a pure, not even an oligarchy, just a single man. It really makes you wonder if by take down big tech, what they actually mean is put our guys in charge of big tech. It's almost like...
really like creating a monarchy in a way, because you're taking this very rich and powerful person and putting him at the head of a platform. It's really just creating a monarchy, and it's really not that big of a difference than big tech. It's really just, instead of a collection of very rich and powerful people, you take the most richest and powerful person to now control it, which again, that could even be a lot worse in some cases, because that can lead to a dictatorship, sort of, in a way, where whatever Elon wants goes on Twitter.
Like, they don't care about authority as a concept, or TOS, or bans, or anything like that. They just want to rally people around the idea that they're outraged at, you know, an oligarchy, when in reality, they just want the oligarchy. They want to control the oligarchy. This is why I don't like it when people like Kyle Kulinski or Shu bend the ear to listen to conservatives when they talk about big tech, because conservatives don't care. They just want more control over who gets banned and who doesn't. Like they don't, you know, you're very much, you know, being puppeted if you're too compliant to those. Yes, I'm familiar. The Vernon Jones character we're looking at said civil rights don't apply to gay people. So that's good. Nick Adams. Don't know so much about this guy. Nick Adams. Probably should, though. It seems familiar to me. Nick Adams in USA. Let's see. Best-selling author endorsed by President Trump. Yeah, there we go. Elon Musk is a great man who has a chance to save free speech for everyone. That's why he's being attacked. Hodge twins. If Elon Musk pulls off buying Twitter, we're going to see one of the biggest meltdowns ever by the left. Laugh crying emoji. Tim Swain. Let's just say they're a conservative. I don't know. Elon Musk's historic pursuit for free speech is just more evidence for how corrupt the regime has become. I don't know what the relationship is between these factors. The Bradford File. If Elon Musk had purchased Twitter 2 years ago, we would have a different president. Comic Boss 1. Heart American flag emoji. MAGA. Elon Musk has skills. Fully brought those who usually reside in the shadows out to play. Things are about to get interesting. And this is in response, I believe, not, as you might assume, to Jews, but actually to Saudi control of Twitter. One of the Saudi princes has a great deal of control. That's what he's replying to here. Dinesh D'Souza, the dishonest propagandist who cannot defend any of his videos or movies. Elon Musk is willing to do what only he can do. He's putting a substantial chunk of his vast fortune on the line to save free speech in America. By the way, this is a narrative conservatives love. They did it with Trump too. Trump is a billionaire who could spend the rest of his life eating.
Okay, now the clip is more put into context, because this was the clip at the beginning of the video. So I don't necessarily think that Elon Musk is saving freedom of speech in America. He might be trying to save freedom of speech of Twitter, but again, to sort of extrapolate Twitter to America is a little far-fetched, I would say, because again, there are other bigger social media platforms that you could obviously have your opinions on, in the United States. So again, I think that connection is a little too broad for me.
Off golden platters, and he traded all of it to save you. He threw it all away somehow, as though you're not incredibly wealthy and powerful as the president. Then he took the most vacation days ever. He threw it all away to save you. It really does speak, I think, to the submissive mindset of the conservative. Conservatism at its core is about deference to authority. The idea of conservatives like rising up to, I don't know, go to your local PTA meeting, do this, do that, vote, restore the election integrity by putting Trump in power in a coup, all that stuff, that's seasoning. It's not the meat of the stuff. The meat of the stuff is you need a strong, powerful, ultra-wealthy person to step in and to rebuild our civilization, as D'Souza puts it. And then we have these. So why am I looking through all this? The reason why, a couple of pointers. First of all, if conservatives are delighted at Elon Musk being in charge of Twitter, that is because Elon Musk being in charge of Twitter would be good for conservatives. The writing is on the wall here. It's not a mistake, We're aware of Elon's political affiliations, and we're aware of the fact that the people who complain about free speech on social media platforms are like 99% far-right people who get banned because they violate existing terms of service. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there issues with big tech and the oligopoly around it? Undeniably. However, should these problems be solved by people who don't actually care about those problems and exclusively want to promote a system in which their people never get banned? And by the way, look at all of the free speech platforms they've set up. Gab bans everyone. Every time they set up one of these alternative free speech, Vote, Gab, whatever, one of these free speech social media sites, first of all, they flop, of course. And second of all, they ban everyone. Parler, Rumble, they ban everyone. They ban way more than Twitter does, massively so, because of course they really only care about their own power and their own political agenda. Now, will Elon Musk do that? Like, is he just going to start banning all the libs or whatever? Probably not. I don't think so. If he even gets in charge of Twitter, and he might not, but if he were to, probably not. What I would be interested in seeing, though, is to what extent does his explicit political bias have an effect on changes made to the terms of service and the...
I mean, Vaush is bringing up a lot of good points here about like any social media alternative like Gab or whatever. They start up and they flop, a lot of the time, but they do ban a lot of people because of their own political affiliation, even though they try to be more neutral. And I don't really think there is a true neutral social media platform, because I think that any platform or company or whatever is going to have a political bias. I don't think anyone's truly like 100% centrist and cannot have any political bias, because even if you're like a centrist, you're still going to have political bias one way or the other, whether on certain issues, whether they're a hot button topic that day, week, month, whatever. So yeah, I see that. And again, it's a really good point that he brings up that with Elon Musk, that, if Elon Musk is to obtain Twitter, will his political bias get in the way? I think it could. And that's why, even though I do like the freedom of speech and I do like, people having different ideas and, exploring them and having conversations about them, at the end of the day, we know what that's going to promote on Twitter. We know that if Twitter becomes 100% free speech, that it's going to have those sort of far-right people back on Twitter, which, again, is going to happen. But yeah, good point by Vaush.
The way in which it's moderated. My personal guess would be that Elon Musk would very performatively unban President Trump, not because he likes Trump, but because he doesn't, it's a tragedy, it's a travesty that a social media company can ban a sitting president. Yeah, people like Alex Jones, stuff like that. A big unban wave.
I mean, if Musk was to get control of Twitter and unban people like President Trump and then also Alex Jones, then I think that, yeah, that would really show his political bias, in my opinion. Personally, I think that he should keep those people banned. But again, if he does unban them, we know what political bias he has, and we know how far it is too.
Of prominent conservatives done under the guise of free speech. And you know who won't get unbanned? Organizers left-leaning politicians, protesters, accounts associated with him.
That's a good point. If Elon was to actually unban Trump or Alex Jones, whatever, if he was to then unban the far left people that got banned, organizers, anarchists, whatever, all those prominent people on the left, then I would agree with it. But if he, if he unbans just Trump and Alex Jones and doesn't unban all of those other prominent left-leaning people, then I would see there's a major problem for Twitter.
Antifa, none of that, right? It's going to be a big, virtue signal. And after that, my guess is just that they're not going to moderate the TOS. Yeah, Grimes gets banned day one. Hassan too. Oh, then I'd be the biggest left-leaning streamer on Twitter. Yeah, Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter so he can read Chelsea and Grimes DMs. Oh, no. Yeah, Chelsea Manning's going to get banned. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, so that was the things we reacted to in the podcast. We have the article, we have a right-leaning person and a left-leaning person. So, I wanted to react to these videos to sort of give a, just a perspective off what people are thinking. So obviously, like most things nowadays, they always turn political. So the right sees this as a win for them and the left sees this as sort of a loss. So it's really coming down to the quote unquote freedom of speech. So we don't exactly know is Elon, officially doing this out of the kindness of his heart because he really believes in the freedom of speech, or is he really doing this for money, or he's doing this for political bias or popularity? We don't know. We can only speculate. It's only through his actions and we really see a conclusion here and we can get our answer. But until he buys Twitter or until he takes control, we have no idea. So until then, if you want to see any of these things I reacted to in the podcast, the article, Ben Shapiro's video, and Vaush's video will all be linked down in the description down below. Personally, my closing thoughts about Elon Musk buying Twitter, or if he does, I would say the freedom of speech is a good thing. I think exploring different ideas and hearing different opinions is great. I think diversity, because diversity in opinion and thought is, I think, a very good thing. I hope that everyone can agree with that, unless you're like, completely very authoritarian. But if that is to happen on Twitter, unregulated free speech, which I don't think it will, but if it does, and like hate speech becomes more of a thing and marginalized groups and people get attacked, then the more far right people come back, and obviously Twitter will probably become a sort of a hellhole of, it might lean a lot farther right, because even though Twitter leans sort of left now, they could go to leaning far right, because I think the far right, even though they're a minority, they do seem to hold a lot of power when it comes to attacking marginalized groups and stuff. Again, some of it might be overplayed, but it could be a big problem with Twitter. But we'll have to wait and see. Until then, I guess we'll just wait and see what Elon does. So yeah, anyways, that's about it for the podcast, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of it. And until next time, see ya.